Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. And I have to tell you how excited we are here at the Middle States Commission on Higher Education Annual Conference 2025 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the Philadelphia Downtown Marriott. Say that 4 times fast if you can. This is Dr. Joe Solucio back with you here. And on my right, Elvin Freitas in his first ever appearance here at Middle States. He was like a celebrity last night, saw everybody like, oh man, yeah. But we're here to talk about accreditation in higher education, why it's so important, and maybe about some of the changes that have been happening in higher education. I've got 2 fine gentlemen with me with very long titles. I'm going to try to get through it, but I feel like I need a little bit of energy to make it through these titles here. Here we go. Let me see if I can get it right. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David Ream. He's a commissioner for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. He's the VP for Academic Affairs at Misericordia University, and he's the chair on the Follow-Up Activities Committee here at Middle States. Whew. David, welcome to the podcast. You're my co-host today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
I am glad to have you here, and I saw you came up with like a roll. You unrolled it. It was like a scroll, and it unrolled. And it was full of questions for our guest today. So he better be ready. Let me just tell you, the scroll of questions. Do you think he's ready?
I know he's ready.
Oh, wow. All right, let's get him in right now. Here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Dr. John Perry. He's president at Manor College. He's also commissioner here at Middle States, and he's the vice chair of the Follow-Up Activities Committee. Woo! Fun and games. Follow-Up Activities Committee. Welcome, John. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having us.
We saw you last year, too, and welcome back. And are you ready for the scroll of questions?
I'm going to do my best.
Well, let's just do me a quick solid here for the audience. Tell us just a bit about Manor College very quickly. You've been there last year. I remember we talked a little bit about it. But anytime we can plug the great work we're doing across higher ed and the great work you're doing, we take a moment to do that.
Well, thank you. Manor College is a small private Catholic institution just outside of Philadelphia with about 600 students, and we're largely serving Philadelphians.
Legendary.
Well, we love Philly. We're all here today. And David, if you want to tell us about Misericordia University really quickly and what you do, that would be great as well.
Sure. I'm the provost there, the chief academic officer, and I've been there 8 years. It's an institution founded by the Sisters of Mercy in 1924. It is one of 17 Mercy institutions around the country.
Well, we're here, and I don't want to get in the way of the scroll of questions, but I would ask you, David, first, and then Jonathan second. You've been commissioners. John, you've been a commissioner for a while.
David's longer than me. He's seasoned. He's got tenure.
What is it? What is it about being a commissioner that I don't know energizes you? Why do you do it?
That's a great question. For me, it's the opportunity to serve students and institutions in this region.
Well, for me, it's that and thinking about the ways that our institutions can continuously improve.
And David, I'm going to pass it over to you to start peppering your guests with questions.
Great. So, John, it's great to see you as always.
Yes, you too.
Let's start with your sense of what the commission does.
So the big picture for the commission is that we're an operation that assists colleges and universities globally, largely regionally, but globally, for the purpose of ensuring that quality standards are met. And it's not a standard set that's instituted in the way that an audit is instituted. It's more of a opportunity for guidance and peers to be able to assist and support each other into success, and at the end of the day, so that our students collectively have success.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary. And
exactly.
And then within the commission, there are a number of committees, and one of them is the Committee on Follow-Up Activities, of which you and I are a part.
Yes.
So how would you describe the work of the follow-up activity in relation to the commission as a whole?
That was going to be my question as well.
So the follow-up committee has a very special purpose, and when institutions have run into some of their most challenging circumstances. We, I think, sometimes affectionately refer to ourselves as the emergency room. And we're there to critically think about and work through the issues that are presented. We treat each scenario as a sort of case that we want to be able to work through and consider. And then on the other side of that, we're trying to offer the guidance and the support that's necessary so that the institution that's suffering some real difficult circumstances can find a pathway beyond and through.
Yeah, that's really fair.
So you're really helping them figure out what they've got some kind of level of complication that is negatively affecting their institution or students, and it's going to negatively affect their ability to continue their accreditation in a good way. And you're going to work through that complexity with them?
Yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things. It could be financial circumstances. It could be even political circumstances that we see on campus, and then how institutions respond to that. Are they responding appropriately? And none of what we do is punitive. It's all aimed at helping the institution to understand what it needs to do to meet the standards so that it can be successful for itself and its students.
And oftentimes part of the challenge is that we come across as punitive because the institution is found out of compliance with certain standards. While we say they're out of compliance, what we're really trying to do behind the scenes is to figure out how to give them the guidance so that they can get back within compliance for all the standards and thus move forward.
I think that's an important point, though, because if you end up with the follow-up committee, it seems almost punitive because, you got these guys now. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But really, it's a positive. It's a way to help the institution through. There is no, and I've said it many times on this podcast, and with Heather, there is no benefit for Middle States or the institution to have an institution that is in trouble, that loses their accreditation, that closes. Like, there's no benefit to anyone to have that happen.
No.
You know what I mean?
So what you have to look at on the back end of things are what's the commission's action that results from our consideration and review of the given institution situation. And that action is listed. It's in writing. It's shared with the institution and others. And that action is the pathway in each case for the institution to be able to follow those recommendations and considerations so that they can get to where they need to be.
And then from a procedural level, once we have the conversations at the follow-up committee, what happens to our recommendations?
Well, at the procedural level, it's multiple levels, which is to say that we're the follow-up committee. We're not the ultimate arbiters to have conclusive decision-making on it. Our information is then shared with the commission as a whole. And then once it's shared with the commission as a whole, it is considered by the entirety of the commission so that there's a multi-part review process, which is to say that there's a checks and balances process in place.
Let's go!
That's good, right? I mean,
absolutely.
This is good.
Yeah, and often the follow-up committee is, in fact, the second round of review. In many cases, we have boots on the ground, people who visit the institution and talk with all of the constituencies there, making a report that then comes to the follow-up committee. So there's ultimately 3 levels of review for many of these situations, and certainly the most complex ones.
Is this new? Is this a newer committee? Is it
No.
It's been around for a long time.
It's
I think
been around.
I didn't know that, and I've been here recording for multiple years. So we're unearthing really some of the layers of assistance that Middle States provides to institutions to help them through these processes, right?
Yeah, with the committees, as David has mentioned, there's quite a number of them. So depending upon the pathway that the institution is on, its relevance for a given committee is, that's how the connectedness occurs, because there's that relevance. And then once the institution works its way through the given committee, then, the output on the other side is putting them in the best position that they can be in to move forward.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we've been doing this for a while. What's your assessment of how the institutions
process.
have changed and how what comes before us has changed. In other words, are we seeing the same kinds of problems now that we were 5 or 7 years ago? How is
That's
the
a great
landscape
question.
evolving?
It's a great question, David, and I know you know the answer to it.
He's just testing.
He
you.
is testing me. So I think the answer is it's sort of a both and. We're getting all the things that we got before, but we're also getting a lot more of the financial now. I think we might be getting some more that are sort of politically oriented too, because of the nature of the times and how that connects with institutional sustainability. But largely, it's, I think, the financial, and it's for all the reasons that we know about in higher ed.
You know, there's the financial part is really important because in the end, if you have no grasp on your financial situation, you're obviously not going to be able to serve students. And that's been evolving through accreditation. And I know from my time in higher ed, it was always sort of looked at, but then as institutions started closing, it became more of a priority. And it was like, okay, how can an accreditor step up and help an institution put visibility on things that might affect their future? And so it's becoming definitely more of an issue to say, hey, look, guys, we see this might be a problem, might be your cash flow. It's the way, you know, your cash on hand, the calculations to go, you guys need to really take a closer look at this. Because in higher ed, most of us aren't designed to be financial experts. We're academic experts. And then all of a sudden, you have somebody that's in control of an institution that goes, what am I looking at here? Right? And that's an important point to say that that the accreditors at Middle States is helping institutions think about their financial situation so that they don't end up closing and hurting students.
Yeah, and you know, to that end, one of the things that we have conversations about is whether an institution has the right kinds of plans. So, you know, it's nice to have projections, but you know, just boilerplate projections that are not tied to a whole lot other than...
You can create a pro forma pretty easily.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you know, anybody can make a projection. But what is the projection tied to? And how does your planning create the kind of sustainability that needs to be present for any given institution?
You can see a pretty realistic or unrealistic plan very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard this morning already about the demographic cliff and the challenges with enrollment moving forward. Well, when a school says, well, we're going to have a 30% increase in enrollment over the next 3 years, you have to look at it and wonder, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
And then we dive down into the details to make sure that it's a realistic plan. And if it's not, then we have to go back to the institution and say, this doesn't look good enough. I think you got to tighten it up.
What's interesting about something like that, because that does happen.
Oh my goodness,
that absolutely happens. It's not only the sometimes the reality of a projection like that. It's that it's actually made. That somebody who's at the institution has looked at it and thought that it would be strong enough to put in front of a bunch of colleagues who just go, wow, that's great. 30% increase when everybody's down 2%. It's like, then that would set bells off for me to go, okay, what's the leadership doing that elevated beyond the institutional level?
Exactly. And those are the kinds of things that we're asking the institutions to consider is how are they going to solve the problem, right? And everybody wants to solve that problem. Higher ed nationally is suffering the issue of headcount and financial constraint and demographic cliff and all of that. So how is that given institution going to solve it? You know, are they going to go outside of their footprint? Are they going to be more intentional about where they are? Are they going to bring in international students? So the plan has to, you know, for a 30% jump kind of a thing, you know, the plan has to be something pretty special. Otherwise, you know, we would hope to see the things that are realistic. And then they also have to have the right people in the seats in order to be able to effectuate that. You know, so if the institution's been going down in headcount for 10 straight years and they've been managing just to balance the budget on that, well, okay, that doesn't, you know, you can't solve the problem by continued savings. You've got to generate new revenue. So what's your alternate sources of revenue going to be if it's not headcount?
And that's where the follow-up committee comes into play to say, hey, look.
Exactly.
Let's literally follow up on this and say, is this realistic?
And the point that you made brings out another aspect of our work, namely, we might start with a concern about enrollment. But as you said, at this institution, this imaginary institution, you've got leaders who've decided on these numbers and are putting them in front of the follow-up committee. Maybe there's a leadership problem, not merely an enrollment problem.
This is crazy.
And it is at times. And part of the challenge is to figure out what's the source of these problems that a school is facing and make sure that in our guidance to them, we're asking them to address not just the superficial issue, but the underlying issue.
It's like investigative forensic reporting. I mean, really, it's like a forensic investigation.
In some ways it is. And, we really drill down to understand each of the situations that are presented to us. And when I say we drill down, we go the extra mile. I mean, I think David, as the chair, reads every single case. And for each one of the situations, it's got to be 50 to maybe 300 pages.
Whoa.
Right, that we have to review.
Easily.
And in part of that, it's really essential that the institution be entirely forthright with us, because if we are going to be the peers who endeavor to support the institution into success, we can't do that without knowing all the information. It's like going to the doctor and having a broken foot and saying, I can't walk on this foot, and then leaving it at that. You've got to know the totality of the situation, and it is really essential for institutions to be forthright.
That is important. I just want to say that very quickly. The transparency piece from the institution to the accreditation body is so critical, because if you're not, there are those out there that think, well, the accreditor should have known more about this institution and why it's in trouble. But there is an institutional piece. I mean, they're
the ones doing the reporting.
Right. And so they can, tuck things away or maybe not say them completely as they are. And all of a sudden someone goes, well, why didn't anybody see this? Why wasn't Middle States, involved more in this? You go, well, the institution didn't provide transparency into something. No wonder why. But that's it. I think out there's this thought that somehow Middle States should know everything about every single moment that's happening in every institution that it accredits. It's not humanly possible to do that. That's why there's this transparency and self-reporting.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't exist, then
it's standard two, ethics and integrity. And the institution has to be forthright with us. And when they're not, I would say, often find out when they're not being forthright. And it's sort of, that becomes very troubling for us.
One of us is in deep trouble.
It's troubling for us. And then we say to ourselves, okay, what trust level can we have in this conversation that we're trying to have with this institution to get it on the right path?
Yep.
Also, if you break that trust once and you don't report, there's sort of like this, well, are they going to do that again? I mean, that's the way I would think.
Yeah.
I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it would.
An interesting thing happens for us, for David and I and all the committee members, in that we will see what we believe to be the distinctions between failures and forgetfulness and mistakes. And then we'll also see those situations where we say to ourselves, there is no way that this institution could have forgotten this.
Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable piece of information. And then when that happens, you can imagine what happens in our minds. We're just like, this must be unreal. And then when that trust goes down, it becomes a challenge.
And you can feel the tone of the conversation at the committee level really alter.
Yes.
What else do you guys want to say? David, I'll leave it to you if you have any more questions for your guest here. And if not, what else do you want to say about your institution, about Middle States, about the conference, which, by the way, there are a lot of people here. There's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of excitement. I was telling Heather and Kate, Heather Perfetti and Kate Conway-Turner last night, I think there's people out there that assume, an accreditation conference, everybody's walking around like there's a bucket of water about to dump on their head. No, there's real excitement here among colleagues to do work, to exchange ideas, and this is an important place to do it.
And one of the great things about the conference is it allows best practices across colleges and universities to be shared with others so that we can all help one another get better. I think the most important thing to come out of this conversation is a kind of deep dive into an aspect of what the Commission's work is, and the fact that you've got peers like Jonathan and me and others who work at colleges and universities who face the same kinds of challenges that these schools are facing, and we're working with them to help improve. That is a deep comment and very, very much counter to the way we often think about accreditation.
Jonathan, same question. What else do you want to say?
I would like to take the moment to be able to commend the leadership of the Commission, Heather Perfetti, all of the staff, all of the commissioners, and to thank David. What you don't get to see behind the scenes is what people bring and their true, authentic self, and, nobody who's in a commission role is getting paid anything to do it. David brings, as the chair of this committee, an incredible amount of energy. And when I say energy, I mean I think sometimes when I see him on the screen that he's boundless and accomplishing so much and moving us through the agenda so effectively and efficiently. And, the commission, I've been on, I don't know how many boards, probably 20-ish boards across my career. The commission, as a board, so to say, is the most highly functioning organization that I have ever been a part of.
Wow.
I should put Manor College aside because I'm leading it. But it is so highly functioning, and it's so remarkable, the work that is achieved and accomplished, and it is a lot of work in small amounts of time. And David is an incredible committee leader, so I want to commend him and all of the commissioners for everything, and Heather and the staff for everything that they do.
Yeah, and I think that's important. You don't get anything for this other than to help institutions across higher education. So you're giving your time, your energy, your eyes in the reading, which must be very deep. As you said, a lot of deep reading. It's not like you guys have spare time to be thrown around pretty easily. So Thank you for the work that you do to help out your colleagues in higher ed.
And just remember, fundamentally, we're helping the students.
Absolutely, right? They win in the end.
The core.
Yep.
Well,
Thanks
there you
for
have it,
this time.
everybody.
It's been great.
Here we go. We're going to outro them in the most appropriate way. Dr. David Ream, Dr. John Perry, commissioners for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education, and chair and vice chair of the Follow-Up Activities Committee. You just ed upped.